I'm Phil Liggett, and this is The Wheelhouse.
Dun, 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 dun. This is the Wheelhouse podcast, back in the bunker for the first time in 2023. Big moment, Kate Bates. We're both here. We've got a lot to get through today. We're looking ahead to Cadel Evans's Great Ocean Road Race, which is such a long title. It's such a long title.
Oh, wait till you add the sponsors in. It gets even longer.
Ooh, can we just call it Cadel's?
Yeah, for short. For slang.
Good. You're off to Cadel's, possibly going to miss your flight. We'll do our best to get you there, but there is a lot to get through first. We're going to wrap up the Tour Down Under. A bit of Patrick Lefevre drama. No week goes by without a little bit of that. Where is Nairo Quintana going to go? We're going to talk about that. And apparently, leg statues are the new way to go in cycling. I want to ask you a little bit about leg statues.
Well, you are a big fan of statues. You're always advocating for statues.
I'm not going to take credit, never, ever would have come up with the idea for a leg statue, though. Wow. So really looking forward to getting to that. But before anything else, there's been a controversy. I'm looking for the bell to ring, but there isn't one. So I'll just get the gavel and say we're going to talk about Group Armour drama that has erupted literally overnight. A bit of a stoush, some French feathers. French feathers flying, I believe, is the way to say it.
Love
Kate
a
Bates.
bit of alliteration.
Thank you. That was an absolute mess, but we got there eventually. David Gaudu and Arnaud Demare have had a bit of a blow-up.
They have. I feel like we're delving into the gossip a little bit here.
A little bit, but wow.
And I love Group Armour drama. Yes, so what's happened is David Gaudu, who was fourth at the Tour de France in 2022. So he's a hitter. We'll say he's a hitter.
Can ride.
Arnaud Demare also can ride. Very fast. At times a little bit aggressively. He's the team sprinter.
Yep.
Grand Tour stage winner. So they're both big personalities on the team. Now, over on Discord, which is like a social media platform, they use it for gaming. David Gaudu, and I don't know who he was chatting to, but someone who could screenshot, went on a little bit of a rant about Demare. Said he doesn't like him, said they don't ride in elevators together. He used the word war, that there is war between them.
So something's been going on for a fair while.
Sounds very dramatic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He even claims, Gaudu claims that Demare, in a team photo shoot, tried to push him over.
Oh, dear.
It's very dramatic. So a bit of bad blood.
Yeah.
But the problem is that Gaudu has said on Discord in this chat, and again, we don't really know the context. It's always a bit more fun without the context, isn't it? That
we can go anywhere we want at this stage. Yeah.
Mostly factual. Let's remember that here at the Wheelhouse. That he didn't want to ride the Tour de France with him. Now, Gaudu, you would think, is an absolute goer. FDJ Groupama have not released their Tour de France team yet.
Yeah.
But you would assume, all things good, that the fourth place getter from 2022 would be back again.
He's going to be retained, yeah.
Demare, who didn't ride the Tour last year and had his cranky pants on for that, might I add, has said that that's his big goal this year.
Okay, so collision course. Unstoppable
course.
Force, immovable object, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and so somebody has screenshot the Discord chat. They've chucked it over on Twitter.
You do.
They've then translated it.
Yeah.
And we've now seen a proliferation of interpretations about this and what should happen.
He has apologised. He's come out and said, soz.
Oh, of course.
What happens on Discord? And by the way, is it Discord as in Dis, D-I-S-S Cord? Or
well, only one S, but I like it, Dis, yo.
It's turned into Discord for this purpose.
Well, I know it because they use it for Zwift.
Yeah,
a lot of teams use it for Zwift. So I'm wondering, was he having a bit of a esports moment just chatting, or I don't really know how else you use it. Probably.
That's the thing in this era,
sound
like
an
podcasting,
old lady, don't I?
The amount, it's so easy for athletes to slip, have little moments, slips of the tongue.
Yeah, did he
all the time.
Was he trying to do it and now he's had to apologise or not? I don't know. But the big question for me is, what do you do in a team where there is such clear animosity between your two big riders?
What do you do? Yeah, it's awkward.
I mean, you'd have to think that for Gaudu to make the step onto the podium, he needs to have everything perfect.
Yeah.
Which means that he shouldn't be under the kind of stress that Demare clearly causes him. Or does he just need to put his big boy pants on and get over it because they're both highly paid by the team to do a job? Should they just do their job? You can't draw that. It would be so neat, wouldn't it, if you could do that? But you can't really draw that line. Like they're emotional athlete. I was about to call them animals. I guess at times they are.
We're all animals,
We are.
Kate Bates. We're all animals.
But it's 21 days. It's not just physically exhausting. It's
Yeah,
emotionally exhausting. If you've got a teammate who you describe as being at war with,
yeah.
it's not going to be a good one.
It's a very awkward
So-
one for team bosses, team management to manage that. But obviously, if push comes to shove and one of them they just are untenable, who goes?
Demare.
It has to be Demare.
Yeah, I don't know who else. Ugh.
Orkies, but team dynamics is actually a good topic to start on because I want to ask you a few questions about our good friend Jay Vine. We now need a Jay Vine jar because I feel like we're going to mention him that much on this podcast.
It is a bit of a bingo jar, yeah.
Yeah, but I want to ask about team dynamics at UAE. So he's come out. The Tour Down Under, he set his sights on it. You've got a lot to say, I know, about the premonitions of Jay Vine. He came onto this very show in this very bunker and spoke about it.
He was sitting in that very chair.
Right here.
Right.
I can still feel the warmth. and I think that now he's come out, he's done it. He put in a beautiful performance to take out the TDU. Does this change anything at UAE? He's not just going to be the odd stage targeting kind of rider. He's done everything by, I guess, I'm going to say the back door in the respectful way, coming through Zwift, all of that. He's kind of come up from an unorthodox passage. But now he's like,
Atypical.
look at
Yes.
me. Look at this guy.
Well,
what is it going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I want to step a tiny bit backwards and just acknowledge and reflect on the fact that we had Aussie winners in the men's and women's at the TDU.
Okay, yes.
Grace Brown and Jay Vine. Exceptional. The World Tour races.
Yeah.
To have Aussie victors at World Tour races is nothing to sneeze at. Go back 10 years, it wasn't happening. Incredible progress of Aussie cycling. And I think Jay Vine's atypical progress through the sport is a bit of a window into how things are changing. But what I found really interesting is a lot of the commentary around his win, bearing in mind that approximately this time last week, we were sitting on the corkscrew, as we called it, the walk screw, because
Yes.
we had to haul the stuff
What a leisurely
up and
stroll
down,
that
wasn't
was.
it?
Yeah.
And Jay Vine had a sensational performance there on that stage. He was second behind Bilbao in a sprint. I think it's fair to say Jay Vine has a bit to work on tactically in his sprints. But he targeted that. Sitting in your very chair, he said that's what he was targeting.
Yeah.
And he bloody well did it, Joel. That's
sure
impressive. Now, he flew past us. Let's pause for a little reflective moment here,
Yes.
Joel. That was your moment of glory.
He needed something. I could sense because we're watching the broadcast on your phone, which
Yes.
somehow had data on the corkscrew, and I was like, he's looking okay here, but he needs something.
So
And we
what
had
did you do? What did you do, Joel?
We had our sign.
Describe it to us.
You'd been up all night making this beautiful sign, which Jay really appreciated. Photos on social media of Kate Bates and Jay Vine celebrating the sign. The reason he was so happy about the sign is because when he got to where we were on the corkscrew, I could see he was flagging, Kate. So I set off. I set off at a full sprint, screaming something along the lines of "Do it for Australia, do it for the world, do it for the wheelhouse." I can't remember exactly what it was. And then at the very last moment, he turned back, not to look at his rival. Anyone who says he was looking at his rival is lying. He looked at us. He saw the wheelhouse sign. Off he went.
Tip of the hat to you, Joel.
That was on the Channel 7 broadcast. It was on 7 Plus, I believe.
No, Joel. More than that.
Okay.
It was on the world feed.
It was on the world feed.
So
there you go.
you went global. And can I say that we will try and find this footage and get it on our socials. But, Joel, have you ever seen those videos of really happy llamas? They kind of bounce. It's great. If you haven't, deep dive. They're so good.
Okay.
You'll waste hours of your life on llama
Sure.
videos. But you when you took off, you had this spring in your step, like
absolutely.
you were an excited llama.
I feel like I was doing a national service. I feel like it was in Australia's best interest for me to
It's
get
like
up
you
and
shot out of a
inspire.
cannon. It was very funny. But
Go, Jay!
we're getting off track here. But I think that's a wheelhouse.
The wheelhouse
First.
went global on the corkscrew, supporting Jay Vine. And you watch, if we get the video up, have a look back, because he does. He turns his head back and goes, "All right, guys,
Tip of
thanks
the
for
hat
that."
to you. Right, so he
Off I go, says Jay Vine, pretty much.
So he targeted that.
Yeah.
He went and did it. What was interesting to me is post-race, and I'm talking tour,
Yeah.
a lot of people have said, I didn't see that coming. Now, we spoke to the director of the race director, Stuart O'Grady, who's won a green jersey at the Tour de France. He's won Paris-Roubaix. He knows his stuff.
Yes.
Beforehand, he did not tip Jay Vine. Let's just say that. He tipped Michael Matthews for the overall. And I even thought, really? Look, who knows what would have happened to Michael Matthews without his mechanical. But Jay wasn't really on his radar. Now, by the end, can I say he was taking advice from the wheelhouse. And he said, watch this space. Jay Vine can be a Grand Tour winner.
Yeah. 100%.
Massive. Coming from the likes of Stuart O'Grady.
Yeah.
That's massive.
Yeah.
But I'm curious as to why so many people thought he came out of nowhere. It was a surprise.
Well, you've been, I guess, a lot more connected to the journey because of your work in the realm with Zwift esports and all that. But I just think his unorthodox route. I really want to get into this Team UAE thing because obviously they know there's so much potential there. Let's get him on board. They've got him on board not as a potential team leader, I'm sure, but the way he's performing. I know it's the Tour Down. I'm not going to say it's only the Tour Down Under because it's the Tour Down Under. It's the first event. It's massive. What are they thinking? Look at the lineup that they've got. He's part of that. I wouldn't put him. You wouldn't put him in the top 2 or 3 of that lineup, surely.
I would now.
Pogs. Would you?
I'd
now?
Put him behind Pog. So we know that today Pogacar is such a prolific winner already, and he's so young. I mean, in fact, Jay's a bit of an old man compared to him. Still in his mid-20s, but the sport's brutal in calling people veterans very quickly. I think for Jay, he presents so much talent purely on a data level, right? A lot of criticism has been meted at him in the past around his skills. So it's been like, yeah, look, he can obviously Zwift, he's got enormous power, enormous potential, but can he actually ride a bike? And you'll hear me say very often describe athletes as lungs on bikes.
Yep.
So they're physiologically unbelievable, but they don't really handle the bike well. They don't have the strategy, whatever. And in the Vuelta last year when he crashed out wearing the Polka Dot Mountains jersey, they came up a little bit like, oh, he's so good, but he can't stay on his bike.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it out there. He's not an autumn leaves. He's not like Geraint Thomas. He doesn't fall off pretty much every time he gets on his bike. He's really upped his game because he was top 10 in a very technical and raining prologue where a lot of people fell off. Mm-hmm. You don't do that with bad bike skills, right? So he's kind of thrown that out there. And I think Team UAE have seen the numbers behind the man and know that there's just so much to work with. Mm-hmm. And he and his wife Brie come as a package. I think that Brie enables Jay in a lot of ways and makes him stronger. Yep. And I think UAE is a team that is prepared to facilitate that as much as they can because it is a bit unusual to have wives and partners around in cycling. It's not like cricket or football where you see them in the stands all the time. It is a little bit different.
Yep.
But they do understand the magic behind that. And I think that that's really important, to be honest.
It is. It truly is. And from UAE's point of view, is it that was a pleasant surprise, or is it a told you so, his performance in Adelaide?
One of the reasons he fits in so well is because they're a very data-driven team. And one of their coaches is Kevin Poulton, who's an Aussie coach from the south coast of New South Wales. And he started with Zwift Academy. He's now gone over to UAE and works with My Whoosh, which is another esports platform. He's very data-driven. He's very analytical, and they know potential. Because you can't lie and hide on a trainer. Like, if somebody comes good with the numbers, if you can teach them how to race and the strategy of it, and they've got the mindset for it, it's kind of a no-brainer. Jay's got the mindset for it. And I also want to say that I feel like we're sounding a little bit like cheerleadery on Jay Vine. I respect the guy, I like the guy, and I like Brie. I'm fond of them. But our praise for them is not based on that. Because equally, I think if they make mistakes, we'll be happy to criticise them. But I just think that this kind of talent, and for anybody who is interested in debunking the came out of nowhere, not expected.
Please do,
Not just for Jay, but broadly, go check out Strava. Do some deep dives onto Strava and look at not only the segment times, but the power numbers. For any of the pros who Zwift, go and check out their Zwift details because if you go into Zwift Power, you can find all of that.
Yep.
So it's not just that I think he's a good bloke. I've dived into all that power. It's phenomenal. And there's another Aussie guy, Freddie Ovett, who also has absolutely phenomenal, like blow your socks off power numbers.
Yep.
He hasn't assimilated into the in real life racing quite as well. He needs to work on his skills, and he's on a bit of a journey heading into the gravel racing scene, working on all of that.
Okay.
But again, if he came out tomorrow and won the world gravel title, I wouldn't say, oh, I didn't see that coming. The potential is there in the numbers, and they don't lie.
It's there for all to see if you go for a dig for it. And
Yeah,
look, we've been
if you're
celebrating.
interested. Otherwise, just keep listening to us.
Well, 100%. But look, we have been celebrating a really, really good run. I'm really interested to see how the year pans out in I should say, in UAE, a team basically full of Grand Tour challengers. And these results, what they do for him. But congratulations to him. What's next for them? They're heading over to Europe.
Over to Europe. The World Esports Championships are coming up. Team Vine have been named in the national team. But I do understand they will. Their program, Jay's program, has also been talked about, and he's down to do the Volta Algarve, I think it's called. That clashes with Esports World. So we need to watch this space a little bit for an announcement from them about whether he will, in fact, be able to compete or not.
Yeah.
Which I know will be immensely disappointing for him if he's not able to, but also pretty realistic of his place in the world and his, importance that he focuses on his goals in real life. But I reckon we'll see him back in esports soon. But Brie Vine, watch out for her in esports world.
I do know that Brie,
coming up in a couple of weeks.
I think she owes Jay a Corvette, just quickly. He's a big car guy. He said I was reading an article, I think shout out to Cycling News, I think it was there. He wants to get himself a Bentley. Brie owes me a Corvette after Spain.
Look, just quietly, for another day, Joel, I do not get the fascination, and it's only the male cyclists, male athletes actually, with the cars. They hit their big target and they all buy these ridiculously fancy, overpriced, petrol-guzzling cars. Why? I want to hear somebody say they want to buy a Tesla.
A Tesla e-bike?
Then I'd be
or
happy.
just
A car, but an electric car. But I don't get it.
Okay.
I mean, have a think about that. Why does that happen? Because not for the women. The women don't go and buy the expensive cars.
Yeah, okay.
Is that a man thing?
What would you do? Grand Tour.
Oh, I don't know.
Kate Bates is, she's back. She's coming. Oh, my God. She's going to win the women's... Blah, blah, blah.
I don't know. I'd probably buy some Louboutins or something.
Okay.
Do you know what they are?
No, not at all. I would not have a clue what
They're
you're talking
high
about.
heels. They're
okay,
very
sure.
beautiful stilettos.
Yeah.
And coming from someone who wears sneakers 99.9% of the time, that might not be expected, but they're beautiful shoes. I might just sit with them on rather than walk around in them. But anyway, we digress.
At
Moving
least you
on.
have them. Let's move on the Wheelhouse podcast. Back in the bunker the first time in 2023. Now, we're talking about the Tour Down Under. I just want to wrap up a couple of other bits and pieces because we can't get through without talking about the Aussie women and Grace Brown, Spratty doing beautiful work. Is their work indicative of sort of getting out, doing beautiful work overseas, getting out of the Aussie kind of cocoon a little bit, coming back and being a little bit above the rest, were the conditions just right for Grace on the day? What did you see of the women? And my second part of this is, where were all the women's teams? Why were there so few there? Why was that historic occasion not enough to lure some more big teams over?
That's two big questions. Let's tackle that from the beginning.
Go one at a time.
We've never had so many athletes in the World Tour, cycling, men and women. It is exceptional. And I also think culturally Australia does it in its own way. You know, our cycling history, the way we approach things, our approach to sports science, everything like that.
Yeah.
And what helps our sport progress forward is getting outside voices. And that may be in hiring international coaches and management to bring new ideas, like the current Oz Cycling high performance manager is Jesse Korf. He's a Canadian, Dutch Canadian. So he has different ideas, culturally different ideas. And so when you put our best riders like an Amanda Spratt, a Grace Brown, on an American team, on a French team, you get these new approaches to things.
Yep.
And as mature athletes, they have the base of what they're doing. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over, your body and your mind won't continue to respond. And so I think it's really cool to see them succeeding outside the purely Australian system.
Yeah, okay.
Diversifying. We have to tackle very quickly Spready Blue Shoes is no longer Spready Blue Shoes.
Devastated by that, but that's all right.
Because Trek Segafredo, one of the sub-companies of Trek is Bontrager, and Bontrager give all the accessories, including shoes. And so Bontrager don't make blue shoes.
Well,
and
why
she's wearing,
can't they?
I know, shout like, hello, Bontrager. If you are listening, and we know you are, get us some blue shoes. And I think on the men's, so then the second part of the question, why we didn't have more of the teams here, I think the first year back after COVID, the first year of Women's World Tour, different to the men's, the Women's World Tour teams don't have to attend yet because there's a lot of factors around budget and everything like that. So I think they did a pretty good job of attracting some pretty big riders.
Okay.
And making the racing really interesting. And I think, we saw a similar thing on the men with Caleb riding for the national team. Amazing opportunity for his young teammates. But I think also for him, he was so disappointed after Wollongong. And he was so disappointed when Lotto got relegated out of World Tour that I think this was an opportunity for him outside of Lotto Destiny to float his own boat a little bit to start the season. And what better way than to start it with a win? Yeah. Like I think I'm really, really impressed by Caleb. So it's been a good tour down under.
You were happy overall?
Yeah.
Spectacle-wise on the women's side without the likes of Jumbo, Movistar, UAE, all of that not there. Still a good product overall.
Yeah, I hope they come next year.
Okay.
And, let's start doing the rounds.
I want to ask you about
calling
tradition.
Round.
Quickly, there's a couple of changes. You mentioned Stuart earlier and his work on the track. Some hill substitutions, a bit of classic route changing happening. Did it affect the sentimental side of the TDU for you?
No, not at all. I mean, I think the corkscrew is now becoming the next one.
Can attest, it is an iconic climb.
It is cool.
It's, woof.
I think it absolutely delivered in any way. And, from our side, I have to say a huge thanks to Zwift and to Champ Sis.
For sure.
Because they supported us to be down there, but it also meant for Champ Sis, they launched their Grow Getters group, and it meant that I got to interview Jay Vine after the corkscrew.
Indeed.
I mean, we literally came down. I ran into the venue to MC that. It was a tight day.
I don't know how you made that, but you did. You did a great job.
Because Luke's an excellent driver. And so that was a real privilege.
Yep.
And also for Zwift, we got to host some women-specific events and chats and dive into it. And that was a real honour as well. So all in all, I think it's almost the end of the summer of cycling. Started with the Bay Crits. Then Nationals, Tour Down Under. And now we're ready for...
Later today, Kate Bates,
Cadels.
if you get to the airport on time. Big shout out to Zwift. I saw everyone down there from Zwift so hands-on. Everyone is getting in, getting their hands dirty, working so hard. Champion system as well. Thank you for looking after us and putting out the great gear. Let's talk about the G.O.R. The Great Ocean, the G.O.R. No, G.O.R. The Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race, the G.O.R. We'll work on that. Kate, you're heading down to host the coverage alongside none other than Mark Barretta from Channel 7 and yourself. It'll be live. You'll be in high definition, I believe.
Yes, heavens.
Wow, it's back in Geelong. Where summer started, the summer of cycling. Are you excited? How are you feeling?
I've spent so much of my life in Geelong racing. The Bay Crits I raced for a decade. We used to have a Women's World Cup in Geelong. We had a women's, effectively World Tour race back when we didn't have a World Tour, but it was a really highly ranked women's race down there. And the men have had a lot of racing there too. They had World Championships there in 2010. And of course, Cadel Evans, his spiritual home is at Barwon Heads. He was born and bred in Katherine in the Northern Territory, but Barwon Heads is where he comes back to when he heads back to Australia. And they ride straight through there. It's a beautiful race that brings together a lot of domestic racing history in Australia for both the men and the women. And it's the only race in Australia that does that now in a World Tour format, but really harks back to the grassroots. And we saw some big racing there at the Bay Crits and now for Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race. They've flipped the course, so they're going in reverse, but it still has a really big element of Shallambra Crescent, which is this hideously steep climb. Michael Matthews was on the podium as an under-23 at the World Championships here. He's my hot pick.
He's your pick?
For the men. And for the women, I don't think that we can go past Amanda Spratt if...
You're going to go Spratty
again? Yeah,
okay.
I think so, if she's not so heavily marked.
Yep.
But Rachel Neyland's another one, top 10 at TDU, obviously in great form. She's won it before there
she
too.
Just keeps on keeping on,
it
Rachel
does.
Neyland.
And I feel like we have to very quickly mention Chloe Hosking, who this may be her last ever professional race. She's racing for the Australian team. She's won there before. If she doesn't get a contract off the back of this is her final retirement race. So it'll be a pleasure to watch her race, knowing that might be what that is.
Well, I hope the conditions are pleasant for you down there. All the best with the broadcast. I'm sure you'll do a brilliant job. I hope it's a little bit cooler than it has been in San Juan at the moment.
No, it's going to be 38 degrees for the women's race.
Stop that,
please.
But,
yes, over in San Juan...
It hit 40. It hit 40, I believe.
It is very much summer for them, isn't it? Oh. It's a really interesting race. Like, it's not World Tour level, but so many
big names.
Big names, and the big teams go. And part of that is because you just need early season racing.
Yeah.
And it's really well organised. They're nice, big, wide open roads. A little bit of a giggle on the coverage, Joel.
Yeah.
The coverage of the TDU got a little bit criticised, but I tell you what, San Juan, the poor commentators, they've pretty much been commentating to pictures of an empty finish line while all of the other broadcast dropped out.
Oh, no.
It's been quite amusing, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, the World Feed commentators have told stories about their family Christmases, and they're really digging deep to.
You must feel for your fellow commentators when you see stuff like that. You're like, oh my goodness, that is just the worst. I do.
And because it wasn't in HD, the pictures are so grainy that it just looks like this blob of cyclists moving. Like you really have to squint to see if you can make out. And it's tough for the commentators. But happy birthday goes, Joel, to Peter Sagan.
Yes.
Who is Luke's beyond favourite.
And third in stage, second, I believe, in stage 4.
He was second behind Filippo Ganna. Yeah. And Luke says, Merksy, let's go back to Merksy.
Who's Luke?
Merksy says that if he wasn't boxed in, he would have won.
Sure.
So happy birthday to him. Ripe old age of 33.
And also,
he's a veteran.
Sure is. And a 23-year-old by the name of Remco Evenepoel as well, I believe, had a birthday celebration and didn't shout out to the wheelhouse. I think he meant to, but he had a lot on.
He meant to. I mean, I think, subtle body language is how he shouts out to the wheelhouse. Verified listener. Verified. He said it. I'm a listener.
We're running off some big names here. It's good to see Egan Bernal. I think about pretty much bang on a year on from his crash. Out about optimistic. It's another Colombian doing the business. It's Fernando Gaviria, who's took up his 50th career win. I love mentioning 50s and 100s. I always will. I'm sorry. I just wanted to give him a nod.
It must be from cricket.
I think it is.
Century,
it's 50
half-century.
pro wins. A dozen of them have come in Argentina, so he's got a bit of a thing going, a bit of a love affair with 40-degree riding, whatever.
Well, with South America.
He's
thing. South American. He's a very good track rider as well. So I've followed his career throughout. Very rapid sprinter.
Can move.
Can move, can sprint. So good to see him back there as well. It's a cool race.
Cool? Is it cool?
Well, as in like funky cool.
It's a sizzling race.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a hot race, in many ways. No, but look, interesting to see all those big names over there. I don't know if Sagan would have. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We won't go into that. No. Let's go from one stoush to another. Now, when we first, for those who are listening, watching on, let me get a touch sentimental here. The wheelhouse was initially conceived. Kate and I had an idea to do a little pilot, a TV newsy style pilot.
Yes.
One of our lead stories when we did it was about Patrick Lefevre blowing up about women cycling and women not really earning the respect and regard of their peers. Absolute rubbish, absolute bullshit. Today's, it's him again, and he's up. Now, this time I'm taking it personally because in my short time in the sport, Julian Alaphilippe is one of my absolute favourites. I love his heart.
He is.
I know he had a tough year last year,
LouLou.
but love LouLou. Love him. He won the rainbows in when I came in and started really getting obsessed. 2 years
on the trot when you came in. Like, no wonder.
So how do you not love him? Anyway, Fev comes out and basically says, stop making excuses. I'm sick of the using accidents and illnesses as an excuse. You're a high paid, you're a premium talent, you're on a premium contract. put up or shut up. And LouLou comes back and says, say it to my face. He's never said it to my face. I'll keep doing what I do. How good is this for a bit of a public spat with none other than Lefevre?
He's just a total douche canoe, that guy, isn't
Douche
he?
canoe.
Oh, seriously. Like, it's not the first time he's had a swipe at him either.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like treat him mean to keep him keen kind of crap. Like, it doesn't work for me.
No.
And it doesn't work for all the riders. Like, hello, Sam Bennett. Congratulations on your win in San Juan. How are you going back at Bora after your fallout with Lefevre? He called him talentless and a whinger. How's he feeling now? I think what really got me, like, we're kind of you expect him to try and be relevant and say these kind of ridiculous crapo things. But the one thing that got me that he said, everyone knows that I don't attack injured riders, but when there's a high price tag attached, I can. So I'm like, that's a bit incongruent.
It's like, I never do something except for this, and this occasion.
Yeah, like, come on, dude. And I think fair game, high-paid riders on big contracts have to deliver, but I will never accept that playing out publicly because the mental health of these athletes is also a very big factor. And to have him do that when he knows that he's going through an injury and illness, like, do you think that LouLou doesn't know himself? You know, like these comments, does he think that he's breaking ground by saying it?
Yeah.
Alaphilippe's a champion. He'll be back.
He is a champion. Quick quote, Julian has a champion salary. He must confirm that he's still a champion. That's from Patrick. The statements Patrick had made will not change my way of working and my motivation. That's from LouLou. And I think you hit it on the head. There's not just sensitivity, but it's they want to be out there performing. Of course they do. And sometimes there's obstacles to that. And I think that he's been extremely disrespectful of that. And at the end of the day, these are discussions for behind closed doors. To come out like that and put them on notice publicly, I hate it when coaches in any sport do that.
Don't be a douche canoe.
You're being a
Patrick
douche canoe.
Lefevre. I want to go back to South America for a moment.
Please.
Because Nairo Quintana,
yeah,
we kind of love him. Is it like I'm a fan of him. Double Grand Tour winner.
I am too, yeah.
The G.O.R and the Vuelta, of course. Now, we've been thinking that he was going to retire, Joel, to perhaps pursue another career. I was thinking maybe entertainment or something
singing,
like
potentially.
that. Potentially. Yes. So just take a listen to this.
There you go.
Nairo Quintana. That is audio of Nairo Quintana being unmasked on The Masked Singer.
Yeah.
He then goes on to have a bit of a sing and a dance. Well, I think he's a chameleon.
Yes, he's dressed as a chameleon.
Like a lizard.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. But he's essentially pulled the same thing off. All the articles were being written preempting his retirement. He comes out, he called his own press conference.
At his
Sassy,
own coffee shop.
yes.
I love that.
That's double promo right there.
Isn't it?
And he said, I'm not even close to wanting to retire. Don't have a World Tour team, but I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm fit. My mind's good. My body's good.
I love him.
Someone take me.
And that's all well and good, but let's have a quick, just go through some of the facts here. So he's 32. He's obviously the Arkea Samsic fell through. He's got hanging over his head. Who's going to take him? Like a big team, a UAE, a Jumbo, they're not going to touch him. What's going to happen?
The reason that he got let go from Arkea Samsic was he was found to have tramadol in his system at the Tour de France and subsequently got his 6th place taken off him.
Yep.
Until 2024, tramadol, and we talked about it at the time, is not illegal, but you're not allowed to race on it. So in terms of it doesn't lead to a doping violation, but the sport has said we don't want it. And so until 2024, if it's found in your system, you're disqualified from the race in which the sample was taken.
Yep. Now,
the kind of compounding issue here for him to find a team, because teams have taken dopers back many a time. Like it's not the first smudge on a resume that we'll have seen with current riders, but the kind of union that the ASO encourages all the World Tour teams to sign up to, the MPCC, have a big thing against tramadol. And as such, any non-World Tour team, so like Pro Tour level, who requires wild cards to get into the biggest races, will not touch him, because then ASO will not invite their team. They've taken a pretty hard... ASO has a lot of power in this regard. And so that kind of puts Nairo's chances in a few little World Tour teams. Most of them are full now. I don't know. I don't like his chances, to be honest. But he's a talented rider.
Yeah.
Can sing, can dance.
Can sing. He doesn't want to go continental either, because that's the other option is Colombian continental. He's not interested.
No,
he wants
not
to be
interested.
on the world stage.
Look, he'll call his own presser when there's more news.
Make him do his own thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we should send him Pat Shaw's number and say, here's how you go about setting up a team, Nairo.
Maybe we should send him over to Parramatta.
Oh, don't.
Anyway.
Just because you've missed out on Cavendish.
I know.
By the way, they've come out and said not happening. Stana's, we don't want him. And we can assume the other big one's not going to happen either. So
Shit, nonsense.
One to watch, Kate. Now tell me about Statues of Legs on the Wheelhouse podcast. Why has this caught your attention this week?
Yes, well, there was the unveiling. Tom Boonen, Paris-Roubaix champion, Flanders champion, one of the hard men of the classics. Retired a few years back, but very much big. And we've got... sorry.
Cue clip.
Merksy.
Sorry. Wrong Tom.
Oh, okay, so Merksy, our super producer, has put up a clip of Tom Cruise in Risky Business. Can we just play it anyway?
I mean, he's got a good set of pins on him.
Great set.
hasn't
Wrong
he?
legs.
But
Sorry,
wrong
guys.
legs.
Maybe these were the thighs that they used to model. Here's the picture
Here
in the
we are.
studio here. Tom Boonen.
It's all right, Merksy. We'll still shout your coffee after this.
Anyway,
there is a statue being unveiled in Flanders, and it is literally Tom Boonen's legs, like outlines, just these two freestanding legs. It is so
massive
creepy.
pair of pins.
He's got a massive pair of pins. Can't confirm he can dance like Tom Cruise, but it's so creepy. And Tom Boonen looks
he's a bit
befuddled.
like, isn't he a bit like, look, thank you, but really?
Yeah.
Did you run out of budget when you got to my quads?
It's so odd. I really don't know how to take it. I mean, I love that they're honouring him, but I don't know about these thighs, freestanding thighs.
And they're not to scale either. I mean, he's standing behind him now, and the legs are bigger than his actual legs can confirm. There's a slight scale up
Well,
happening.
and I'm just concerned that the Western Australian contingent have been listening, Joel, to your stance, to your charge for Ben O'Connor to get a statue, because if they take this approach and they know him as Glutes O'Connor, because everybody does, please no.
The
please
Colossus
no.
of glutes.
Like, artistic interpretation aside, we've got a pair of legs. I think we're done.
You know, we just call it the bronze bum, though. It'd be an iconic landmark. Everyone would start saying, "No, did you go to WA? Did you get to check out the bronze bum? What's that?" That's the statue of Ben O'Connor's glutes.
We didn't get to see him at the Tour Down Under, but I might see him at Cadel's, and I'm yet to actually meet him in person.
Okay, well, can you pitch the glute statue?
So
once you get your pleasantries out of the way and get to business,
I might just slip him one of our Wheelhouse cards, make him become a listener, and I'm pretty sure he'll contact us.
Yes.
When he realises.
Because let's be honest, if all the feeds dropped out and we were commentating, that's all we would do, was dish out flyers and read the Tour de France media guide from last year. That's all we would do. On the Wheelhouse podcast. It's good to be back in the bunker, Kate.
It is. And I was still kind of giggling about Tom Cruise's legs popping up there.
Can you sing a line? Can you sing a song quickly? That classic song from Risky Business?
No.
No?
No, that song to me is actually, I think of Alf.
Oh.
Anyway.
Let's unpack that in a later episode.
Absolutely.
You have a plane to catch. Good luck down there. Godspeed.
Thank you.
We'll
Great
wrap
to be
it all
back
up.
in the Wheelhouse bunker.
Great to have you. We'll
Yes.
wrap it all up next week.
We will indeed.
Thanks for your company on the Wheelhouse podcast. See you soon. The Wheelhouse is brought to you by the Grow Getters Group, Champion System and Pissay, and produced at River City Studios for Listener. Executive produced by Luke Mears, the mysterious Merksy. Written and hosted by Kate Bates and myself, Joel Spreadbar.